28 people were killed after a 7.8 magnitude earthquake hit Ecuador's central coast Saturday night.
Ecuador, 41 people are
Earthquake
confirmed dead
rocks
after
Ecuador's
a
coastal region.
Rescue crews are searching through the rubble for survivors.
More than 24 hours
Government says
after the earthquake hit,
time
is running out to find survivors. Rescue workers and medics are working flat out to save as many as they
As
can.
rescue teams sift through the rubble. Right now, all 6 coastal provinces are involved in states of emergency. Among those killed, 33-year-old sister Clare
Crockett.
Sister Clare
She had
spent
worked
several
at
years
Assumption
working
Catholic
as
School in St. Nicholas for several years. Channel 4's Kamasi Aaron spoke with those who knew her.
Picking up from her family is that she was in a school looking after young people, and the earthquake hit and struck the school, and she lost her life in it.
I can't even imagine. Her family just must be absolutely devastated, and unbelievable to think this was a woman going about her work, helping those at a school, to lose her life in this way.
This is a young girl who gave her life to God and died for the gospel. Literally died in the line of duty. She was a joyful girl. I've known her since she was a teenager.
What age is Sister Clare?
She's 33.
So young.
Yes, and she had the vitality of a teenager to the end. She was an outstanding person, and we're devastated at the thought that she's lost her life in such a tragic way. But the Lord will reward her for that. None of it will go to waste, and these mysterious things are in the plan of God, Helene. We don't understand them, but they make sense in eternity.
Catholic there, but my family are Catholic for religious reasons. It's for political reasons. Because in the north of Ireland, well, there's a lot of problems. Catholics against the Protestants. They fight politically because the Catholics want a united Ireland, and the Protestants want to be joined on the Protestants.
It's more a question of politics and power than religious belief.
I'm Irish too, same as Sister Clare. Even in my own childhood, I remember 6 or 7 years, I would have been 7 when Bloody Sunday happened. And the tension in the air, I remember that year, and I remember there was a lot of tension around then too, a lot of anger. The two centres of tension, the two great centres of tension, would have been the Falls Road in Belfast and the Bogside in Derry, which is right next to the Brandywell, which is where Sister Clare was from.
If you heard shooting, you knew that they knew to lie down on the ground. If you heard a bomb going off and it seemed to be close, their father used to go out and get them. And Clare seen a soldier being blew up, just come from school. So that's the environment.
What I find extraordinary is that she transcended all of that, if you like, just on a natural level. What I mean is that just by the sheer talent, abundance of natural talent, she succeeded in opening her wings, so to speak, and surpassing all of that, escaping it.
She was always brilliant. She always had the lead role. But she was brilliant. She loved her acting. Everything was about her acting.
And there was an agent who was up the school and seen her. He said, would you come, do my acting classes? And she went, and she did parts, films and advertisements.
What classes and stuff, and in these classes they taught you that you're the best. They taught every single person, you're the best, you are the best. And we had to walk around the class with our heads high, and you had to say, I'm the best.
At the age of 15, she had that position as a presenter on a program for young people on Channel 4. In Sister Clare's case, it was pure, natural talent and lots of it. And not only as acting, singing and comedy, she had it all. How did she walk away from all of that? That's why I mention this, because it becomes even more amazing. The fact that having escaped difficult circumstances because of her talent and having gotten on that inside track to fame and success and prosperity, money, lots of it, and attention, that she was able to walk away from all of that.
And when I was 17, I started drinking, and I liked to party, I smoked, all that kind of stuff. And one time, one of my friends, her name was Sharon, she called me up and she said, Clare, do you want to go to Spain?
There was a retreat. I went to this Holy Week, and at the start I was like, I didn't expect it to be all the way it was, that we had to pray the rosary, that we had to meditate on our Lord on the cross or whatever, because I had never done it in my life.
I lived that Holy Week very badly. I was a terrible smoker, and I was always outside trying to sunbathe, you know, or and smoking while the talks were going on. So Good Friday came, a day like today, and this was a big grace that our Lord gave me. They said, Claire, you have to go. Today's Good Friday. Our Lord died for us. You have to go. So I went in. I said, fine. I sat on the back bench of the church, and they said, Claire, you have to get up and kiss the cross. You know, everybody's doing it. Get up. I said, so I got up because everybody else was doing it. And I remember standing in line waiting to kiss the cross. It didn't mean anything to me, but I did not know what our Lord had prepared for me. When I went up there to kiss that cross, I remember looking at it, and this was about 5 seconds. I'm telling you, it wasn't a long time, but when I looked at our Lord's hands on the cross, I saw that for every sin that I had committed, it nailed him to the cross.
I seen our Lord nailed on the cross for my drunkenness, for my impurity, for my vanity, for everything. I seen him nailed on the cross for that these were the nails.
But I remember going back to my seat, and I was crying and crying. And what was going through my head in that moment was, I killed God. That's what I was thinking. I killed God. I'm feeling the weight of that I had killed God. I felt at the same time that he said, but I forgive you.
I'm in Team 3, and today we were talking about vocations. And I was thinking, oh my God, I have a vocation. But I want to become famous. But right about an hour ago, I become a mum too. So then I said to myself, I'll become a famous mum. So I don't know what to do with myself now. I could become really famous and be really rich, or I could come here. And I'm praying to God that I make the right decision. Gracias.
And I went in this pilgrimage to Rome. And there on this pilgrimage I received a lot of graces of knowing my vocation, of knowing that it was a vocation, a religious vocation. They love in poverty, chastity and obedience. They love in a community.
So she came smoking, and she smoked like this and said, I'm going to become a nun, and I'm going to be a famous nun. I told her, well, yes, I think that you're going to become a famous nun. But to become a famous nun, you will have to be the most humble. And to be the most humble, you will have to learn to obey. Then she took a puff of her cigarette and said, well then, I'll obey. That was the kind of character that Sister had. You see, she had a character of totality.
And again, I said during this pilgrimage, I was like, I am changing. When I go home, I am changing, because God now has changed my life, and I'm changing. And I went home and I didn't change.
So I went back home to Ireland, and it was during that year that I started drinking more and more. And I would get myself into states when I would, we would go out every weekend, which would then turn into getting drunk every day. But there was this one night that I was sitting in the bathroom, because what would usually happen was I'd drink so much that I'd end up vomiting at the end of the night. So I remember one night I was sitting in a bathroom, and there was 3 toilet cubicles, and I was sitting in the middle one, and I was looking down at the ground because I was gonna be sick. And all of a sudden I felt that there was something looking at me. And I remember looking up because I thought there was someone at the other toilet cubicle sat on top of the toilet looking over at us. And I looked over and there was nothing there, and I looked at the other side, there was nothing there. But there was something there looking at me. I'll tell you right now that it's like, if I close my eyes, I know that you're looking at me. Well, that's the same experience that I had in that toilet cubicle.
At this time I felt our Lord trying to talk to me, and I felt that I was hurting our Lord by what I was doing. I was in the bathroom and I started crying. I just started crying because I was like, I'm hurting him. I feel as if I'm hurting our Lord so much. And I remember I had my eyes closed.
I felt that there was something looking at me. And in my soul, I heard these words, why do you keep hurting me? And I knew it was God that was talking to me. I knew it was God. I started to cry and cry.
And I remember I was afraid because I was like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like if I have my eyes closed, I know that you're there. But that's why I felt that our Lord was there. And it showed me the humility of our Lord to come into a bathroom of a bar. Because I had an experience once of having everything but having nothing. I mean, like, I had to go and film something in England. I had this money, I had all these friends, I had this hotel room that was the size of Spain, this bed that was the size of France or whatever. I was like, oh my God. It seemed that I had everything. I felt empty, even though I thought I had everything. I didn't have anything. I remember crying. I was like, this is what I always wanted, now I have it, and I'm not happy.
And I went back there, and I remember sitting on top of the hotel bed, and I was looking at the schedule I had for the next day that said that the chauffeur would come pick me up, he'd take me to set and all that. Now, I remember looking at that piece of paper, and I started crying and crying and crying. Pray to God that He gives you the grace to feel a total emptiness when you try and fill yourself with things that are not Him. I knew that I had to change my life. I knew that I had to cut with everything that was taking me away from God, and that's easier said than done. You know, I would say with a cigarette in this hand and a beer in the other. So guess what? I'm going to be a nun.
Initially, she struggled with her two vocations, because I have to be a nun and I have to be famous, so the solution is I'm going to be a famous nun. As she went further and further into the journey, the whole fame thing became less and less important to her, and it was totally eclipsed by the vocation to just love and to live and proclaim the truth. And that was all she cared about in the end.
It's hard for these sisters not to smile when they think about Sister Clare Crockett and the times they spent together teaching, singing, and laughing.
Gift with the youth and with children. She was always surrounded by them, but because she always would sing and she was always very joyful.
It's a gift she brought to Jacksonville, teaching at the Assumption Catholic Church from 2006 to 2009.
She was really amazing, and the kids loved to be around her.
Father Fred Park, who pastors the church, said her life served as an inspiration to students.
Sister Clare has been described by her friends, by those who know her here in Derry, as a joyful person, a person who gave her life for God. Is that how you see it?
Yes. Even though that first step of giving her life to God was difficult for her, she grew and grew in joy. When she writes about her story, these are her words. She says, "I am now very happily consecrated in the servant sisters of the home of the Mother. It never ceases to amaze me how our Lord works in the souls, how He can totally transform one's life and capture one's heart. I thank God for the patience that He has had with me and still has. I do not ask Him why He has chosen me. I just accept. I depend totally on Him and our Blessed Mother, and I ask them to give me the grace to be whatever they want me to be." And I think she asked for that grace, and the Lord gave that grace to her.
At the beginning, it can be puzzling how the Lord has taken precisely one of the sisters who has the greatest number of gifts. But you see how it's the hand of God and it's God's way of acting. First, that He does not need our gifts to accomplish His work, and His ways are not our ways, and He has another way of acting. And on the other hand, how God can multiply what she could have done in this world, because we have been able to verify how she is no longer limited by space and time so as to help souls. So, what at the beginning could have seemed a loss, in the end, God has His way of multiplying and bringing about a good, which is much, much bigger.
And I know that the testimony of her life is going to change the lives of others, because she gave her life generously. When she was asked to work in the missions in Ecuador, she knew that there were dangers.
A life of service, smiles, and song. In St. Nicholas, Kamasi Aaron, Channel 4, the local station.